Hey everyone, this is the Halifax Real Estate Podcast. My name is Jason Paul and I'm a licensed realtor at Keller Williams Select Realty in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I'm here to help you gain a better understanding of real estate in Halifax and introduce you to a wide variety of people that work in or with our industry as well. Curtis Lord is the Business Development Manager at Airtight Spaces of Tate Engineering. Airtight Spaces use an innovative technology called Aero Barrier, an automated envelope sealing technology to make homes and commercial spaces more energy efficient and more comfortable by sealing gaps and holes that air can leak out of. Please welcome Curtis Lord. Hey Curtis, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so I guess I'll get right into it. I saw your business on Danica Coakley's newest flip.
Yeah.
And she was explaining what it was. And I was like, that is so cool. That is like, I understand that you make homes more energy efficient, correct?
That's the idea. Yeah.
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 So I guess for the listeners who haven't seen Danica's content, what is your business?
So I work for a company called Airtight Spaces. And so what Airtight Spaces is we're a company and we specialize in the building envelope and air sealing that building envelope. So by air sealing, I mean, we're keeping cold air from getting in your house. We've all been in grandma's house and had that draft, you know, and you're wondering, where's that coming from? I got, my feet are warm by the fire, but my back is cold because there's a draft. It's that we're stopping.
Okay.
And, so that speaks to the comfort, but really the benefit here is the energy efficiency in the home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So how do you stop the draft happening? Yeah. How does that work?
So it's a great question, and it's a complicated answer depending upon the type of structure, the type of space you have. Is it an apartment building or condo? Is it a townhouse? Is it a single family dwelling? Is it a commercial space?
Okay.
So
you guys are across the board.
We're spaces.
Okay.
Right. So it doesn't matter if it's commercial real estate or residential real estate or the various types of residential. We're here to try to make that space as airtight as possible and still not impact the quality of the home.
Okay. So why is making your space or home airtight important?
Okay. So you think about it this way. If you're, we're here in Halifax, if your furnace comes on, it's heating up your space.
Yeah.
Right. If you've got outside air that's uncontrolled coming into your building envelope, so your roof, floors, and ceiling.
Yep.
Walls, floors, and ceiling. Sorry.
Yeah.
If you've got that uncontrolled air coming in, then your furnace is actually working harder to warm up that air and warm up that space.
Okay.
Because your thermostat is telling the furnace it's only 16 degrees, but your furnace is trying to heat it up to 20 or 21. Where you have the setting.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So your furnace is running hard, and whether you have electric baseboard heating or whether you have an oil-fired furnace or a heat pump or whatever your heat source is, it's almost irrelevant. The more uncontrolled airflow you have into your house, the harder that heat source needs to work.
Yes. Okay. No, that's understandable. How does uncontrolled airflow get? You mentioned floors, walls, attic, ceilings. Where do you find the most uncontrolled air gets into a house?
Yeah. So, and again, it varies.
It varies across the board,
one structure to another.
Yeah.
The quality of construction will impact where the air comes in.
Okay.
And we've seen it come from all types of strange places. We've seen it come through penetrations in the floor of the basement.
Okay.
Penetrations where there's wiring or plumbing or HVAC coming into or out of a house or a space.
Yep.
Where your wood frame construction meets your concrete foundation wall.
Yes.
Significant location of air leakage.
Okay.
And really the construction trades have started to pay attention.
Yes, of course.
To air tightness. It has not become an inspected part of building code yet.
Do you think it will?
Absolutely will. There's parts of the United States where a blower door test to test the air tightness of your home is required in order to get an occupancy permit.
Really?
Yes. In British Columbia, the energy code has been adopted in a step format. So what's happening is that builders and people in construction that have issued a building permit
Yeah.
have to meet a certain number of air changes per hour.
Okay.
And then in a year's time, that's going to step up to something more stringent. And then
Okay.
it's going to go to another step that's higher. And it's all in alignment with the idea that buildings need to be more efficient
Yes.
from an energy perspective overall. And each province has its own body that is trying to promote that. So here in Nova Scotia, we have Efficiency Nova Scotia. NB Power does it in New Brunswick. And various other utilities and government organizations do it across the country.
Yep.
And we've all been taught through those organizations, insulate, insulate, insulate,
Yes, of course.
right?
Yes.
We haven't been taught make the building tight, make the building tight, make the building tight,
Yeah.
right? And really there's a I guess I'll call it a perspective that it's good enough.
Okay. No, I'm with you.
From a builder's perspective.
Yeah.
Or when someone buys a home that's been occupied before, so it's a finished home.
Yeah.
They think to themselves, "Oh my gosh, to make it tight and super energy efficient is going to be so expensive.
Yes.
It's good enough."
Yeah. No, I understand.
Right.
It's like when you think about like oil conversion to maybe natural gas or or you're trying to think of like the modern home efficiencies, like installing a heat pump instead of using electric baseboard. Like the first thing people think of is like that big dollar bill sign in their head. And you see it all the time when I'm with a client. They say, oh, well, we're buying an 80-year-old home. We had to update the efficiency. We had to update the electrical or the heating source. Heat pumps probably, Efficiency Nova Scotia is great for the rebate program.
That's right.
It's just, I know when you say the cost, I completely understand why that would be a big hurdle for most people.
It is. Now, there's things every homeowner can do.
Yep.
Let's call it, the simple things. We're talking about making sure your windows are closed tight in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Making sure you've got a weather stripping on your door.
Yeah.
Right? Those types of things. But there's some things that a lot of people, and let's face it, some people are handy and can do some things themselves. Some people can't. There's other things that people can take on, like foaming.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of people out there that are not comfortable with a foam gun.
Yeah.
Right?
I would argue when you say some people can, most people can. I mean, some people can, some people can't. I would say in terms of do your own construction or do your own thing, I would say most people can't. Some few. I've been in homes where a lot of DIY happens, and you just
yeah. And I would agree. I found it in my home when I bought it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, yes.
So it's all worked out. But that being said, there's some things a homeowner can do. That are easy, but there are some things that are very difficult.
Of course.
Right. And houses, and you said 80 or you've got a client that purchased an 80-year-old home.
Yeah.
That's going to be ridiculously inefficient.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right. And so they're going to need to spend some money on that home to make it affordable for the long term.
Yep.
Right. Because there's one thing that we can count on is that electricity is not going to get cheaper.
No.
Oil is not going to get cheaper.
Nope.
Heating and cooling your home is not going to, the cost of that is not going to decrease.
No.
So when someone's looking for a home, one of the things that I think that they breeze right past is how much is it going to cost me to operate this building?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's got nice countertops. It's got nice lighting and finishes, right? It's pretty.
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty.
It's a really nice space. But when it's minus 15 outside and blowing, am I getting a draft? Is my heat pump working overtime? Am I able to stay warm?
Yeah. No, I
Right?
I
Or
get
am
it.
I able to cool it during the summer?
Yeah.
Right?
You know what? The place that we're in now, the summer is melting.
I'll bet.
We moved in December 2019, and we had our first summer this past summer, and I spent half of it on the floor just in a puddle. So I get it. I completely understand why you need to understand why people have to have a better comprehension of making your home more energy efficient.
That's right.
Now, going back to air changes, because this is the part that intrigues me.
Okay.
How often does air change in a house per hour, and what do you mean by air change?
Okay, so when you take into account, and I'm going to be upfront here, I'm not a building scientist.
Great.
I don't know building science inside and out.
Yeah.
But really what someone would take into account is the volume of air inside a building
Yep.
and how many times per hour that air will change completely when the house has got a pressure applied to it
Okay.
of 50 pascals.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So sometimes you'll see someone, a home efficiency auditor come and they'll put a blower door on.
Yes.
And they've hooked up a big fan and a monitor and they're extracting air from the house and they're watching the monitor and they'll get a number.
Okay.
That number will be how many air changes per hour that house is performing at.
Yeah.
Right? And typically what we see is a house that we were talking about, 80 years old.
80 years old. Best example.
It'll be, we've seen them as high as 16 or 17 air changes in an hour.
Okay.
Right? So very, very leaky. That's grandma's drafty house.
Yeah.
Right?
Warm in the front, cold in the back, like a mullet.
Exactly. Exactly. Great way to put it. But then you see the opposite end of the pendulum.
Yeah.
Where somebody has decided to build a passive home or a net zero home.
Yep.
Or they've done a very large retrofit, a renovation to make an existing structure net zero or passive.
Yes.
And by those two terms, what that means is that a passive home and a net zero home are extremely, extremely efficient in terms of how much electricity they use.
Yep.
And how much electricity they produce.
Okay. Now, just for the audience sake, what is a net zero home? Because that's not a common term.
Yeah. So net zero is, I'll call it, it's the newest term on
efficiency
the,
homes.
on the efficiency home spectrum. Yeah. So a net zero home is one where you're producing and using, I believe the number is 80% less power than your usual home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So by that, we would draw the logic that it would cost you much, much less to operate for the entire life of the home.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then passive is even more efficient than that.
Yep.
So in order to hit those targets and in order to be certified to have a home that's either net zero or passive, you need to hit certain targets for various elements throughout the construction process.
Yeah.
Right? And air tightness is one of those very stringent requirements.
That's interesting. That's really interesting just because like airtight, I've never heard of that before for like a building code or a home inspector to bring up air tightness.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't realize is that air tightness is actually in the building code that's in place right now.
Is it?
But it's one of those things that is builders try to adhere to it.
Yeah.
But nobody really regulates or enforces it.
Okay.
Right? So nobody has to have that blower door test in order to get occupancy.
That's interesting. I didn't even know. I've never heard anyone else bring this up, which is it just makes it makes sense because of the green kick the world's on right now with global warming and using LEP being more energy efficient. Like I can get it because like as you say, if a home is having 17 air changes within an hour,
you're just leaving your front and back door open and turning the furnace on and letting it go. Really, that's kind of the mindset.
Yeah.
We to give you an example. A previous client, we measured their air changes.
Yeah.
It was the equivalent of a 2 foot by 2 foot hole in their home leaking air.
Oh my God.
And so we went through our process and we could kind of talk about the details of that.
Oh, we'll get in there. I like the concept now.
But a 2 foot by 2 foot home. So as a realtor, if you brought a client to a home to show them this nice,
I've got an example.
Really pretty house.
Yep.
It's got great countertops, beautiful windows. The flooring's nice. All the finishes are there. And there's a 2 foot by 2 foot open hole in the house. Would that client buy that house?
No.
No, they wouldn't.
No. Right? I was showing a house on the Halifax Peninsula like literally 3 days ago.
Okay.
And for those of you wondering when this is recorded, we're on February 2nd.
Okay.
And we went in the house, and they said it was a potential flip. Like you could, it needed some love.
Okay.
Sanitary story, but it was drafty. Like really, like it felt like we were outside. It's like -10, and we went up to the attic, and you can walk up. It's a clear access attic. It's
Okay.
a stairway leading up. You don't have to pull down the ladder from the ceiling. No, you can get very easy access.
So a livable space.
Livable space.
Okay.
No insulation anywhere.
Yeah,
It's
so-
just, and I'm like, oh, this is why this place is -10.
That's
heat,
right.
Heat rises. Like when you bring up that 2x2 hole, I'm thinking this must be like a,
16 by 16
Yeah.
foot hole. Yeah, absolutely.
and when you get homes like that, like good luck. Like you need spray foam needs to get in there. You need to insulate that or else you're heating. I can only imagine how much my client didn't buy it, obviously, but It's like, if I had to ask for the power bill or the oil bill, I can only imagine what it was to heat.
And I can't agree more. I think the big thing there is that you've got an uninsulated, livable space,
Yeah.
right? So somebody at some point has made that into a loft or an art studio or whatever
Yeah.
it was, and it's probably scorching hot in the summer, and it's freezing cold in the winter.
Yeah.
So really, can you consider that a livable space? It's certainly not comfortable.
Certainly not comfortable. You feel oh man, it was cold.
Absolutely. So, it's at the end of the day not a livable space.
Yeah.
Because it's the same as your garage where you store your
Car, your
car
tools.
and your tools.
Yeah.
Right. So, if someone's moving into or looking for their house, their next house or their first house, and they've got a budget, they really need to be conscious of what is it going to cost to operate that building.
Yeah. And I completely agree.
Right. And so once they find the house they want, what's it going to cost? Can I afford it? And knowing then that we said before, oil's not going down.
Yep.
Electricity's not decreasing in
No.
cost. How can they then make sure that in the long term
They're safe
they're
financially.
safe? They're A, comfortable in their house.
Yep.
B, they're not house poor trying to pay an electric bill or an oil bill.
Yep.
Right? And they can prolong the longevity of the structure.
Yeah. I understand.
Right.
And it's important. It's really interesting now because just given the way the Halifax market is, there's not a lot of time for due diligence and there's
No.
not a lot of leverage. We try in terms of like asking for Nova Scotia power documents, property taxes, getting an idea for the cost. If they're on oil, we ask for the oil bill. But truth be told, like you're in there 3 days and you're writing an offer. It's hard. It's hard.
I think when the market is as fast paced as it is right now,
Yeah.
people have to make some guesses
Yeah, which is
through the process.
and surround themselves. It's right now. It's win the offer, then due diligence. Unfortunately, right? Then you get the inspectors in who can tell you, which like it's cool to understand that we can inspect for air changes and we can inspect for air leakage.
Absolutely.
In your time so far doing having this career in Halifax, what is the average air change you see in an average home?
Yeah, and again,
Ballpark, it fluctuates.
It fluctuates wildly. We've seen brand new construction.
Yep.
Start at 1.1 air changes in an hour, which is really
really good
right. Is really good from the standpoint that the tradespeople that built that house took their time. They were diligent about sealing
everything,
sealing at framing, sealing after insulation, sealing, making sure that holes are done. They lined up their trades, right? So your electrician and your plumbers, they're going to put holes in your house.
Yes, they are.
It's necessary.
Yep.
So they've, brought them on board and said, we need to pay attention to this. That being said, there's other homes we've gone to and, someone has done what they felt was due diligence in the construction process.
Yep.
And it came in at a 5.
Yep.
Or a 7.
Yeah.
Right. And, I throw out these numbers and people may or may not really understand what they are, but to give you some perspective, the kind of acceptable building code, when you do the calculation, it's about 3.5 to 4 air changes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the acceptable building code.
Now, is that currently in Nova Scotia, that current building code right now? Or
yeah. And again, you know what? The inspectors have lots to do.
Lots to do. They're not looking at it. It's not necessarily
it's not something that they test for.
Yeah, it's not a priority.
That's
but
right.
In the building code right now, they recommend three to 4.
Somewhere between 3 and 4.
Okay.
Right. Now, back 20 years ago, they came out with this standard of home construction called R2000.
Yes.
Right. And some people were successful with it. Some people had success with it. Some people didn't.
Yeah.
and the air changes that you were supposed to hit was 1.5.
Interesting.
Right? So somebody understood 20, 25, 30 years ago that energy efficiency was going to become more important. And so they came up with this set of standards. Now, what they didn't understand was the impact of some of the things that went into the construction of that home.
Okay.
Right? And some builders found that those homes were rotting
Interesting.
because they were sealing in moisture and the structure was rotting.
Okay, so you do need airflow in a home.
You need airflow in a home. Absolutely. No question about it.
Yep.
And so you see things come into account. If you look through the history of building,
Yep.
a heat recovery ventilator, an HRV, right? Or a heat exchanger, some people call them. Air exchangers, some people call them. That's managing the airflow, fresh airflow, bringing in fresh air from outside into your home. And, a heat recovery ventilator, HRV, is hopefully extracting some of the heat that's in the air in your house, that stale air, and putting it into the fresh air. So it's kind of preheating before it enters the space.
Yeah.
Right? So it's making your house more efficient.
Okay.
Right? But it's also helping to manage some of the moisture.
Yes.
Right? Because once someone moves into a house, they generate moisture. Their showers, their dishwashing, their cooking.
Oh, of course.
Their cleaning. All of that stuff generates water vapor.
Steam, moisture,
Right? Absolutely.
everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's really about trying to manage that moisture level, that humidity level in your house.
Yeah.
So that you don't rot your house, but you can still achieve some element of efficiency in terms of heating and cooling.
Okay, so let me just make sure I've got this straight. We recommend 3 to 4 air changes, but having 0 still isn't good because then you're going to have too much moisture in the home.
So here's a better way to think about it.
Okay.
The tighter the home, the better.
Yep.
Okay? As long as you are managing the airflow that comes into your house properly, right?
Okay.
So you've got an HRV that's managing that fresh airflow in and that stale airflow out.
Yep.
Right? That way you have controlled airflow. So if you want to take control of your home and take control of the comfort level and take control of how long that home is going to last you, managing
how it breathes
is important.
Managing how it goes.
That's right. That's it. Exactly.
How the home actually breathes in and out, because just think of like the stale air as CO2.
Yeah,
You need to breathe that out from your body, or else if you too much CO2, we all know what happens. We don't need to go into that.
Exactly. And you know what? People that might listen to this podcast that are, my dad's age or my mom's age, and they're thinking, oh, a house needs to breathe. And they're 100% correct. It does need to breathe. But if you can control that breath,
Yes.
then you can perform better.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Anyone
It's
who's
like-
ever ran.
Yeah, absolutely. Think about runners. If they don't control their breathing, if they don't pay attention to it, they're not going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't be.
That's right.
That's
At mile 26.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. No, and that's a great analogy, and it really brings the point home. So now going back to your business.
Yeah.
How do you guys plug the airflow?
Okay, so there's really 3 kind of services that we can help a homeowner or building owner with. The first being, I'll call it troubleshooting.
Okay.
Right? So there's something wrong. That there's air leakage. It's drafty. It's expensive to heat. We can come. We'll hook up our blower door. We'll take a blower door reading.
Yep.
Okay. Then we will look for those places and investigate those places in your building that are leaking air.
Okay.
Okay. Then we'll tell you where they are, and we'll pack up and go on our merry way.
So you can identify where the most leaks are.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. So the most common ones.
Yeah.
Okay. The second kind of step is to do that first service, but then do some filling, right?
Yes.
Do some sealing. We would consider it to be manual sealing. So using a foam gun, taping things up with an airtight tape.
Is duct tape airtight?
I'm going to say no.
Okay. I only ask because I've seen the forced air vents.
Yeah.
Duct tape around where the joints are, and I'm like,
you sure have.
I get why you do it. You want to make it more efficient.
Yeah, using the right materials is really important.
Of course.
Right? Duct tape will dry out.
Yep.
Right? And then, we've all probably been in a basement somewhere where the duct tape is hanging off that.
Oh, we've all been there.
That forced air vent, right? So if you use the right kind of tape, to tape around a hole that's in your basement.
Yeah.
Right. Something that's leaking air around an outlet or a window. Those are places that leak air like crazy, and we can seal those manually. A little foam gun, some tape, some caulking, that type of thing can
Be sorted out.
Significantly help the efficiency of the home.
People are just gonna be out with caulking guns, just going around their windowsills now.
You know what? And that happens, and that's kind of the very basic step.
Yeah.
Right. So then the third real service is us applying what we call aero barrier. Okay. So Airtight Spaces is the authorized dealer for aero barrier in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick.
Yep.
So what aero barrier is this is science coming forward. Right?
Love it.
Like there's nothing else like it on the market.
Okay.
There's no possible way for air sealing a home to be controlled the way that aero barrier can control it. Okay. So this is the Tesla of power storage.
Okay.
Right? Like really is leading edge. So what it is we put our blower door on the home.
Yep.
And I want to be clear, a typical blower door test that an energy auditor will draw air out of the home.
Yep.
We're going to push air in. Okay. So we're going to push a very low amount of air in. And what we're doing there is we're pushing the draft that would come into your home. We're pushing it back out.
Okay.
Okay. So we're creating a reverse draft. And throughout the building, we're going to place atomizers. So it looks like a sprayer. And what it does is it takes our sealant.
Yep.
It atomizes our sealant into a fog. Okay.
Interesting.
So there's this cloud of fog then in your home or in your space. And that air leakage, where those drafts are going, it's carrying that fog into that opening.
Okay.
Okay. And that sealant builds up and then closes over and seals that hole in your house.
What?
It does. So in a really large opening, we talked about 24 by 24. It's not going to work, right? But your house won't let's be logical. Your house is not going to have a 24 by 24 inch single hole.
Well, if it's
going to have a cumulative,
2
foot by 2 foot hole.
Yeah.
All these little tiny cracks or holes or perforations in your envelope.
Yes.
Right. And it's those small perforations that this sealant is going to plug up. So it will seal anything from the width of a human hair or smaller, up to 5/8 of an inch.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And what's really great about it is that it maintains some flexibility. So as the building settles or shifts, opening and closing of doors, it's not going to break that seal after it's installed.
Oh, okay.
So it maintains some elasticity.
It's durable.
Very durable. The testing's been done and tells us that it will last at least 50 years with very, very minimal degradation. Right?
50 years.
50 years.
So you put this fog, you get the suit over the home, you build the fog up, it plugs up the holes.
That's right.
And you're good roughly 50 years.
You're good forever.
Forever.
I'm going to say forever.
I like the confidence.
It's been tested up to 50 years, right? And put through an aging process in the lab. So again, not the building scientist here.
No.
But, there's lots of people with brains bigger than mine that have done all the scientific research. And this is approved for use in construction.
Amazing.
Our sealant is approved for use in construction. So those people that have started taking notice of this have really started to get on board.
Okay.
So to give you some perspective, a year and a half ago, the company bought this technology.
Yep.
And we expected to, let's consider 30 to 50 seals in a year. That's going to be great.
Yep.
We're going to get it. This will work for us as a part of our business.
Yes, of course.
What ends up happening is that we get 200 seals installed within a year.
Nice.
So it really outstripped our expectations.
Yep.
And so now what we're doing is because we're in COVID.
Yes, of course.
It's tough to market something when you're in COVID.
Yep, people can't go anywhere.
Right? Exactly. You can't go anywhere. So there's no conferences, there's no trade shows, there's no large audiences for us to tell about to tell.
There's local
all about
podcasts.
This local podcast is fantastic, and I'm really glad you asked me to come by. But there's really no large audiences.
Yeah, of course.
And before COVID, we did get a chance to kind of make presentations to a number of small of groups, and within those groups, there's some people that jumped right on board.
Yeah.
And they're now, designers, architects, builders that are making a concerted effort to involve us in the planning of their projects.
That's unreal.
Right? And when should I get aero barrier installed? What stage should I
now,
get you guys in?
These clientele you're getting that are becoming along the process, are they builders building homes for sale, or are they people building or redesigning spaces for themselves to live in? Because that's a different clientele.
You're absolutely correct. And the answer to that is yes to both.
Okay.
Right? So we're getting people that are building apartment buildings.
Nice.
Right? Which are as inefficient in the general sense as could be.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And apart from energy efficiency, there's a whole bunch of advantages in terms of comfort that an apartment building can gain. You have people that are building brand new homes.
Yes.
You have people that are making a concerted effort to build a net zero or passive home.
Yep.
Okay. You've also got people that are doing deep energy retrofit. So they've got a 50, 60, 70-year-old home.
Yep.
And they are spending, they've got a large budget.
Yeah, of course.
But they're spending money to make that home much more efficient and more comfortable.
Yep.
Maybe it's on the peninsula. They really like the location. The property's fantastic. Let's just make the house,
not be 80, 100 years old.
Exactly.
And breathe like an 80, 100-year-old home.
And then you have the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yep.
Where someone is trying to get into their first home.
Yes, of course.
And so they're looking for something that's affordable. It's affordable for them to run. And we've been asked by those clientele to come in and, put aero barrier in their house.
Unreal.
As well. And it's been done in finished spaces.
Yep.
It's been done in renovated spaces, under new construction, at various stages of construction. So, those 200, I think we're up to 215 seals now we've done.
Congratulations.
215. We celebrated our 200th seal.
Nice.
With Habitat for Humanity in Fredericton.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So they were at the stage of construction in one of their builds where they thought, let's get aero barrier. Let's get Airtight Spaces to come in and put this in. And we partnered with them. We installed it. We've now done it in two of their buildings in New Brunswick.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, you think about it from an affordable housing standpoint.
Yes.
The families that move into those homes, they're going to have a really efficient home.
Yes.
Really comfortable home. And it's affordable for them.
Amazing.
Right? So first home to luxury home to apartment to condo, commercial space, it's all applicable.
I've got like 8 questions because you gave a lot there.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so when I was watching, I'm gonna talk about Danica a lot. I don't know why,
yeah.
but when I was watching Danica's content on Instagram, you guys had put like a barrier over the house.
Yeah, so we didn't actually barrier over the house. What we do is we seal up all the leak points that you want.
Okay.
That you don't want to seal.
Yes.
Right? So we'll tape around your windows. We'll tape around any doors that we're not going to be using.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to seal those shut.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Right? You want to be able to open your windows. You want to be able to open your doors, that sort of thing.
Yep.
But then we go around and we make sure that all the plates are off the electrical sockets. We drop all the lighting fixtures.
Yep.
Right. So that you
can get all the plugging going where the holes are.
Absolutely.
Because that's where you're.
So we're not if you're thinking that we're tenting the house, we're not tenting your house.
Okay. I thought you guys were tenting.
Yeah. No, we're not tenting.
Okay.
So we're not doing that. But what we are doing is we're putting a blower door on your front door, your back door, and we're gonna put a very small amount of pressure into the house, release that fog, right, that atomized sealant, and that reverse leakage is just going to carry that sealant into
and plug up all your holes.
Plug up all those holes.
Okay, because like in my head I was thinking tent, and then my next question was going to be how big is your tent for an apartment building?
Yeah,
that was where I was going.
Yeah, okay. It would need to be big if that was the case, but we're actually not tenting. No.
Okay, that's a lot more better than what I was thinking. How this works. Okay, so when we're going back to the 3 stages of what you guys do: troubleshooting, minor, full on, airtight spaces. What are the prices for each what are the costs for each one?
Yeah, so the first two services are an hourly charge.
Okay.
Right. So we have a couple factory trained technicians. We have all the gear. We bring our blower door and our equipment.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a cost to that. So we charge that out by the hour.
Okay. What's your typical charge per hour? I want numbers for audience members who are, because they're going to want to call.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'll entertain all those phone calls, by the way, no problem at all. We do charge $150 an hour.
Okay.
Right. For the two technicians to come out, minimum 3 hours.
Yep.
On
so
site.
So $450.
Yeah, it's going to be about $450 to start.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if we do the investigation and it's $450 and you decide, you know what, I do want to go with Aero Barrier.
Yep.
We'll work out something with the homeowner.
Okay.
So that they're not paying for that $450 and the cost of Aero Barrier.
That's good to know.
Right. So we're there really to perform, our intent is to help the homeowner
function,
improve the airtightness of their home.
Yeah.
So we can either educate them and let them do it.
Yep.
Or we can do it for them with a manual process, or we can do it with a fully controlled automated process of Aero Barrier.
Okay. So when they get the troubleshoot and they're going full on Aero Barrier,
Yep.
Can we give a ballpark of how much that would be? Or
Yeah. So our typical pricing before discounts,
yeah,
right, would start a 2,400 square foot home, 2,500 square foot home, and below.
Okay.
Starts at about $4,100.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
If it's a finished space, right? So a house that's got flooring in and it's got all the finishes in, there is going to be an additional cost.
Yep.
Simply because it takes more time for us to
because you guys have to
prepare.
Yes, because you guys,
right?
like you said, you take off the faces of the electrical, you take down the light fixtures to make sure the air can get in. Yep. There's more work to be done.
There's more work to be done. And one thing to remember is that the sealant is a fog that's hanging in the air, but it will slowly descend. And so it does land on horizontal surfaces.
Oh, fun.
It won't stick to a wall, but it will stick to the floor. So if it's a finished home,
yep.
and we have done finished homes, by the way.
Yep.
If it's a finished home, we have to cover all of that.
Yes,
right?
There's a lot of prep.
Your kitchen cabinets, your countertops, your flooring, your handrails, your stairs, all your windowsills, all of that needs to be covered and protected. Now, can it be, if some of the sealant gets on something, can it be cleaned off? Yes, it can.
Okay, that was my next question was if you get the floor, can I clean my floor?
So we actually take, if something gets through,
yep,
we'll take on that responsibility and clean.
Love it.
Right? We don't want to leave a homeowner with a mess.
Yeah.
Right?
Your home's energy efficient, but don't look in the bedroom.
Mess. No, we don't want to do that. But what we will do is we'll clean up after ourselves.
Yep.
And an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure.
Yes.
Right. So it's easier to cover and protect than it is to clean up everything.
Yep. I get it.
So that's the approach.
Okay. So someone spends $4,100, if you include like a fully finished home, $5,000, whatever much it's gonna be, let's say between $4,000 to $6,000 to get you guys in. They get the barrier, their home has been fogged.
It's been sealed. Yeah.
There we go. Sealed. Better, much better word than fogged. What type of let's just say we'll go 6 to 7 air changes per hour.
Yep.
They get the fog done. What does it look like after you guys have been out?
Okay, so it really depends upon what the homeowner wants to set as a target.
Yeah.
Right. There is there are variable factors.
Yeah, of course.
So is there an air exchanger in the home?
Yeah.
An HRV in the home that's going to help manage that fresh air? Yes or no? So in Danika's house, there wasn't.
Okay.
So we don't want to tighten that house super
too
tight.
much.
We don't want to tighten it up like a Ziploc bag.
Okay.
Right? Because if we did that, the moisture that is generated by the homeowner
would rot.
Is going to start to degrade
the interior of the home with the wood.
Quality of the home. That's right.
Okay.
So we brought that her house down to, I believe it was around a 2.5, 2.6, something like that.
Okay.
Right? Which allows an acceptable amount of fresh air in.
Yeah.
But it's not like someone's just leaving the window open and turning the heat up.
It's not bleeding you dry.
That's right. Absolutely. So in a new construction home where having an HRV installed is part of code.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have it. We can tighten that house up pretty darn tight.
You can make it. You can make it a Ziploc bag.
We can make that like a Ziploc bag. Yeah.
What are the Do you have any idea on the typical savings you guys provide?
Yeah. So on average, a home will save 15 to 20%.
Okay.
Right. So to give you, to give you kind of an understanding,
Just a ballpark
of what that band looks like, if you're at 10 air changes and we bring you to 2.5,
Yeah.
we've increased the air tightness by 75%.
Yes.
Right. So you're going to get more savings.
Yes.
Right. Than if you start at a 3 and we bring you to 1.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Because then you're only 66%.
It's very relative, right? If you're at 16 to 17, as you say, is the worst you've seen. Like I imagine that house I was in South End, Halifax, I imagine their air change was high considering the attic. If you manage to insulate that attic and then bring the air changes down to, a 2.5, like the savings are astronomical.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing to remember is that it's not just the savings on your energy bill for a year or 2 years. People tend to think about, okay, what's the payback cycle?
Yes.
Right. So the payback cycle, because, let's face it, $5,000 or $6,000 is a lot of money, but it's not a prohibitive number.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Some people spend that on a vacation every year.
Some people spend that on, jewelry.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right. So with that in mind, you're going to receive that energy savings on your power bill, on your oil bill every 2 months or every month for the rest of the lifespan of that house.
Incredible.
Right. So when you think about affordability,
Yep.
all of a sudden someone who thought I need to have, my maximum budget is $250.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to cost them $400 a month to heat that home.
Yep.
Right. So that's a sizable chunk of money.
Hilariously
right?
expensive.
So if we can help them save 25% of that, all of a sudden it's $300 a month.
Imagine, I can only imagine the savings of a first-time home buyer, right? Because in this market, you do have to stretch right now to get that house. So when you stretch, you could do purchase plus improvements as a mortgage.
Yep.
Tack on an extra 5,000 to 6,000. Say we're going to bring in aero barrier to make this place as energy efficient as possible.
Do some insulating.
There you go.
Yeah, do
right?
some insulating. Do your air sealing.
Find out the air change rate as you find out it's anywhere between 7 to 12, and then you bring you guys in, pay the money, and you're down to a 2.5. That's worth every cent. If you're looking at in terms of a return on investment over time, you can say like if we're talking about 25%, 400 to 300, I mean that's $1,200 a year.
Absolutely. And to put it in terms of one of our clients, we went and sealed his home.
Yep.
It was one of the very first seals we did.
Love it.
And astounding success.
Yes.
Right? We learned a lot about our equipment and our capability. He learned a lot about our system and what it does. And a year later, we asked him, how is it?
Yes.
Do you notice the difference? And his comment to us was, I went from wearing 3 pairs of sweatpants to 1 pair of sweatpants.
Oh, that's just nice. Comfort of living.
From a comfort standpoint in your home, he's now comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? And I know my wife has got, the hoodie and the blanket and everything on the sofa.
Is your home airtight?
My home is airtighter than a lot, many, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
First big renovation we're going to do. We'll probably get aero barrier installed.
Love it.
Hands down. But if I was building a brand new home, I would insist upon it. No question about it.
Yeah, I completely understand. Yeah. We're talking about cutting costs that are inevitably going to rise.
You're investing.
Yeah, that's it. It's a return on investment.
Exactly. So once you think about it from the perspective, once you've saved enough money, if you're saving $100 to $200 a month, that payback is relatively short.
Yep.
Right. So that payback's relatively short. Then you've got excess cash flow.
Yes.
Right? With that excess cash flow, you can pay your mortgage down faster. You can contribute to an RSP. You can put money away for your kids' education.
All the super responsible things. If we're talking of real individuals like myself, I can go out for dinner more.
You can go out for dinner more. You can buy that sports car. You can go on vacation.
I can go for a different trip. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm just thinking about what I do with that money.
Exactly.
Okay, so you've incredible incredible savings opportunity for homeowners for the long-term future. If you're planning on being in a home where you're having kids and you're going to watch them grow up in it, that's 18 years.
Absolutely.
That's a wicked return over 17 years. Even if you count the first year, right? For the first day you get that lifespan, it's incredible. And on top of that, when you go to sell, you can say, this is a certificate, this is done. Here you go.
That's correct. So when we install an aero barrier, we do provide a document.
Yeah, of course.
Here's how much air leakage was in the home.
Yep.
Initially, after we sealed the home, here's how much air leakage there is.
Yep.
Right. In terms of both air changes and in, square inches.
Yes.
Right. And we also show a graph that shows where the air changes started and where it ended.
Love
when
it.
we shut the machine off. And, so that is typically a very sharp curve downward.
Yep.
And when the curve starts to flatten out, we know the house is not going to get any tighter.
Like COVID.
Right? Exactly.
Okay. We discussed everything except the process.
Okay.
So when you get the call for the initial assessment,
Yeah.
how does that work?
So typically myself or one of the technicians will come, take a look at the property, make sure that it's in a stage where we can apply aero barrier.
When can't you apply aero barrier?
When the house is going to have holes cut in the envelope. So take, for example, you didn't install your furnace yet. Your house is not insulated. You've got, windows and doors left to be replaced.
Okay.
Right. So at that stage of construction, we have to wait.
Okay, because you mentioned that earlier, fully finished home versus not fully finished home.
That's right.
So there is a difference in
Yes.
what stage you guys can come in and do a job, and
That's
it's
right.
when I imagine it's when all the footings and fittings are in place.
When the house envelope is weather tight,
Yes.
at that stage, there's a little band of time that we can take. We can seal if your house is being spray foamed. We can seal after spray foam
'Kay.
for drywall.
Okay.
If your house is going to be batt and poly or blown in
Yep.
and poly, the barrier can be installed right on top of the drywall.
Okay.
Right. So we've done it everywhere from right to lumber to after.
So there is a wiggle room.
There is some wiggle room.
Okay.
Yeah, there is some wiggle room. In a finished home, what we do is we come in, we look at it, and we go, okay, what fits the schedule? Is the house under renovation? Is there a patio door that needs to be replaced? Let's get the patio door in and let aero barrier seal up anything
After the fact.
After the fact.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
It's that kind of consideration that we want to take.
Of course.
If they have to replace the roof, let's just wait.
Let's hold off before you make the
Right.
big old 2x2 4. Yeah, and then ruin
let's
all.
Let the roof get done.
Yeah.
Let's let them get that insulated, and then we'll come in and install the aero barrier.
Okay.
After they're done.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is we want to install it at a stage where it's not going to get broken.
Yeah.
You're not going to break the seal.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Because then it's for naught.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So you guys come in,
Yep.
assess the situation.
That's right.
And then you run your initial test. And how does that work?
Yeah. So we talk with the homeowner. We provide them an estimated cost, and we go. Once they say yes, I want it. We come back with all of the equipment.
Yeah.
We set up in the morning. Start doing our preparation. We protect all the flat surfaces. We'll protect lighting, door handles, all those things that need to be protected. We don't want to get a film over them
No.
of sealant. And then we set up the equipment in the blower door. We take a reading. That's our starting point. We start to seal, and the sealing process itself is always below 3 hours.
Okay.
Right? It's typically less than 2.
Okay.
Right? The preparation time and the cleanup time, we're in and out in one day. So if you're building a house, there's no interruption to your construction schedule.
Yeah, of course.
We're not there for a week.
No.
We don't have to do part of it and then leave and then come back.
Okay.
Right? We're in, we're out.
And this
we're gone.
And is this full on air barrier you're talking
That's
about?
correct.
Yeah. Okay. So roughly a day. In
Roughly
and
a
out.
day. Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
So it's not a major disruption to someone. It's like, I'm thinking about homeowners for this.
Yeah. So a homeowner, the only thing to remember is that you can't occupy the space.
That's it.
Right? If you've got all your personal belongings in the house, you do need to pack those up.
Okay.
We can tarp it. We can put a shroud of poly over it to protect those belongings and your furniture and things like that. Or the homeowner can take on that role and remove some of that cost from the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not something that requires you to have an education.
Yeah.
In order to protect your own belongings.
Yeah, just pack it up, wrap it in plastic.
That's right.
Throw
Wrap it in plastic.
throw a plastic roll over it, duct tape some stuff, and you're fine.
And we'll give the homeowner all the guidance they need.
Yeah.
And if they got questions, it's okay for them to call us 20 times. Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that?
Yeah.
And we'll give them that guidance. No
of
problem.
Course.
We're there to work with the homeowner.
Yeah.
And
I hope so.
Yeah,
clientele.
Absolutely. and then come in and do the installation.
Okay. So just the process basically works as you guys get a call, you go out, talk about the initial process.
Yep.
Do the assessment, troubleshoot, figure out what needs to be done, recommend a solution. They can either go through the second step then, which is a manual. You guys come in and want to plug up certain things.
That's right. Yeah.
Or we can go full aero barrier, which is a full day process.
That's right.
And probably if you're going to do the work yourself, a couple days of prep.
It is a couple of days of prep.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. There was a couple, over in Dartmouth, bought a home during COVID.
Oh my God.
Before they moved in, they called us.
Yeah.
And the house was finished space. It had the flooring installed. The kitchen was all done, but they hadn't moved their belongings in yet. So we just said, look, it's COVID. You guys are off. You're not working. Here, take the time and take this aspect of it, prepare the space before we get there.
Yeah.
And we can do it at this discounted rate.
Amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now they've got this circa 1970s home that's much more efficient than all of the other circa 1970s homes on their block.
Yeah.
For sure. And, they took on some of the project themselves, and then we came in and ran the equipment and sealed the home.
Any idea what the savings were for them by tackling that themselves?
Yeah, so that one we did back in the spring.
Okay.
So I think after this winter cycle, we'll have to
reassess.
Reassess and call that.
I meant like in terms of doing the manual labor.
So it took them, I believe, about 2.5 days.
Yep.
To protect everything in the house.
Yep.
And then we were in and out in one day.
Amazing. Okay. And I'm just thinking, because why is it someone's like, no, you guys can do it all. I'll pay you. What do you have any idea on what that cost is for you guys to actually pack up the house?
Yeah, and what we do is we don't actually pack up the house. We're not gonna handle
not what I mean, but yeah.
But yeah, to prepare a finished space.
Yes, that's it.
To do that is an hourly charge.
Okay.
Right. So
$150
an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. I think, and that's the whole process, start to finish.
We
haven't missed anything.
Nope.
Okay, because that's so intriguing, because it's such a different way to think about efficiency in a home.
Absolutely.
Especially because I know we say that $4,000 to $6,000 is a large cost, and it is. I just thinking relative to like the other home efficiency things I've heard. Like everyone always goes heat pump. I'm gonna make my home more energy efficient. The classic one is heat pump, and those are more. They cost more.
You're right. Those are more. It's an important investment to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because it will be less expensive to operate than oil. It will be less expensive to operate than electric.
Yeah.
Right? Doing that and aero barrier just puts you so much further ahead.
That's what I was going to say.
In terms of efficiency. The other thing to consider is that if you put in a heat pump, and the house is leaky, that heat pump has to run more.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So facts are facts. Equipment has a usable lifespan.
Yep.
Before it needs to be replaced. So if you run your equipment harder or longer, then it will expire sooner.
Of course.
Right? And so from that perspective, if you've got a more efficient home, your heat pump that you just bought, your brand new heat pump that you invested in, doesn't have to run as much, and therefore lasts you much, much longer.
Yeah, of course. Which just it only makes more sense. Absolutely. To get, like, I mean, I'm thinking in my head now that when we go to buy our first home, it's going to be aero barrier first, because what's the point in putting in the heat pumps, the and all the other energy efficient things if I'm just going to lose it to the outside?
So one thing to also consider is that if you have your house energy modeled by an energy auditor, right?
And hold on, energy auditor, Efficiency Nova Scotia.
So exactly.
Yeah. Do you guys offer energy auditors?
We do energy auditing.
Okay.
As part of our company's offering.
Yeah.
That being said, we are not a residential energy auditor.
Okay, so Efficiency Nova Scotia is the
That's
guy.
right. There would be a little bit of a conflict there if we were auditing your home and then saying, "Oh, you need air barrier."
Yeah,
Right. So
Yeah.
we've strategically chosen not to do that.
I get it. Yeah.
Right. But think about it from this perspective. If you buy your home,
Yep.
it's an oil furnace, and you want to put a heat pump in,
Yep.
no problem. What size heat pump do you use? You get that heat pump size recommended based on the efficiency of the home. So the more efficient the space,
The smaller.
the smaller the heat pump.
Yeah.
So you can actually save. You might not need that 2.5 ton heat,
Heat
pump.
pump,
You only
that-
need a 2.
The behemoth.
You don't need a 3. You might only need a 2.
Yeah.
So think of the savings there as well.
Do you guys work with energy? Do you guys work with Efficiency Nova Scotia?
So we do from a perspective that we audit, do energy audits and consulting for high density residential, which are apartment buildings or condo buildings.
Yep.
And commercial spaces and industrial settings.
Okay. So do you guys, because Efficiency Nova Scotia offers a wide variety of rebates.
It's very wide.
Yeah. So do you guys have a partnership with them for rebates at all, or no?
So we don't have a partnership. There's nothing that Efficiency Nova Scotia says, "Oh, use Aero Barrier and you get $500 back in your rebate." But if you consult, so if you're building a home,
Yep.
and you take your set of plans to Efficiency Nova Scotia,
Yes.
right? They do have a program where they will make recommendations
Yep.
in your building process.
Yeah.
That will allow your home to be more energy efficient, and air tightness is one of those elements.
Has to be.
Right? So then if you achieve,
Yeah.
if you take into account certain number of those recommendations, you then qualify for a rebate.
Oh. Okay.
So
that's cool.
Whether you're building a home brand new
Yeah.
or buying a home, having a conversation with Efficiency Nova Scotia is a great idea.
Always. I'm trying to get them on. It's just scheduling.
Yeah, for sure.
Curtis, man, I gotta say I'm out of questions. You've blown me away today. I didn't know much about this. And just before we go, what is the name of your business? Because I don't think I asked.
Yeah, so we are Airtight Spaces.
'Kay.
A listener can check us out, airtightspaces.com.
Yep.
We are a division of Tate Engineering,
Okay.
and we're based out in Fall River. And yeah, we'd love to hear from anybody who wants to learn more.
Thank you so much, Curtis. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.
If you'd like to get in touch with Curtis, you can reach him at 902-817-1561 or curtis@tateengineering.com. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can reach me at 902-220-7357 or jason.paul@kw.com. Thanks again. Bye.